The last time a human being stood on the moon, Richard Nixon was president of the United States. The Beatles had just broken up. The internet didn't exist. Concorde hadn't yet crossed the Atlantic. That was December 1972. This week, NASA announced it isn't just going back. It's building a city. Before we get into what NASA is actually building, we need to talk about something uncomfortable, because this is not the first time America has promised a permanent moon base. In 2004, President George W. Bush announced a plan to return to the moon by 2020, with a permanent outpost by 2024. That program was called Constellation. It was cancelled 6 years later without a single crewed launch. In 2019, the Artemis program launched with a promise to put astronauts on the moon by 2024. Then 2025. Then 2026. The first crewed landing is now targeted for 2028. And here's the number that puts all of this in context. The Planetary Society estimates that the United States has spent approximately $107 billion, adjusted for inflation, on return to the moon programs since Apollo. $107 billion. 0 lunar landings. So when NASA holds a press conference and says this time it's building a permanent base, you're allowed to be skeptical. You're allowed to ask, what's actually different? Here's the honest answer. The goal itself has changed. Every previous program was about visiting the moon. This one, for the first time, uses the word permanent. And everything about the technology they've chosen reflects that shift. The moon base isn't going to the equator where Apollo landed. It's going to the South Pole, specifically to a region called the Shackleton Connecting Ridge. That location wasn't chosen randomly. The South Pole has two things no other part of the moon offers. The first is sunlight geometry. Ridge peaks near the pole catch almost continuous solar illumination, which means reliable power for a base that would otherwise face a 14-day night. But the second thing is the reason this location matters more than any other place on the moon, and possibly more than any other place in the inner solar system. Water ice. In the craters around the South Pole, craters so deep that sunlight has never reached their floors in billions of years, scientists believe there are substantial deposits of water ice. Ice that has been accumulating since the early solar system. Now, here's why this isn't just interesting science. Water ice, H2O, can be split using electricity into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen are rocket fuel, which means that a base at the South Pole that can access that ice doesn't need to bring its fuel from Earth. It can make its own. Think about what that means. A moon base that produces its own propellant is not a research station, it's a fuel depot. It becomes the refueling stop for everything else that comes after. Missions to Mars, to asteroids, to wherever humanity goes next. Whoever establishes infrastructure at the South Pole doesn't just win the moon. They establish the economic foundation for deep space. That is why NASA is going there. And that is why China is racing to get there by 2030. Now let's talk about what's actually going to the moon, because the details here are more impressive than the headlines suggest. Start with something called MoonFall. NASA has contracted Firefly Aerospace to build a spacecraft that will travel to the moon and deploy 4 hopping drones approximately 50 kilometers above the surface. These drones, built on the same engineering philosophy as the Ingenuity helicopter that flew on Mars, will hop across terrain that no rover can reach. Permanently shadowed craters, narrow ridges, the exact places where the water ice is most likely to be. 4 drones scouting the most scientifically valuable and most physically treacherous terrain on the moon. That has never been done before. Then there are the rovers. NASA has awarded $219 million to a company called Astrolab to build a crewed lunar terrain vehicle, a 6-wheeled rover designed to carry 2 astronauts at over 6 miles per hour across the surface, and $220 million to Lunar Outpost for an autonomous rover called Pegasus, capable of over 9 miles per hour, operating without a human driver. These are not symbolic vehicles. Astronauts arriving in 2028 will use them to explore kilometers away from their landing site. The range of human activity on the Moon is directly defined by what these machines can do. And then there are the landers bringing all of this there. 3 missions, all targeted for before the end of 2026. Blue Origin's Blue Moon Mark 1 carrying scientific instruments to the Shackleton Ridge this autumn. Astrobotics' Griffin lander delivering over 500 kilograms of cargo, including the first flip rover. And Intuitive Machines Nova C carrying payloads from both the European Space Agency and South Korea. Before a single human has landed on the Moon, NASA is sending 3 cargo missions, 4 drones, 2 kinds of rover, and international payloads from multiple countries. This is not preparation. This is construction. There's something buried in the March 24th announcement that almost no mainstream outlet gave it the attention it deserves. NASA cancelled the Lunar Gateway. The Gateway was a planned orbital space station around the Moon. Years in development, with hardware already built by Northrop Grumman. More importantly, it was the mechanism through which international partners, the European Space Agency, Japan, Canada, had secured their seats in the Artemis program. Europe had built hardware specifically for Gateway. Japan had built habitation modules. Canada's Canadarm3 robotic system was designed for it. All of that is now in limbo. NASA's language was careful. Gateway is paused in its current form, but paused in the way that matters. The billions of dollars and years of engineering that international partners had contributed now have no defined home. ESA's guaranteed astronaut seats in Artemis were tied to Gateway. Without it, Europe's role in the next era of lunar exploration is suddenly unclear. There is a June 2026 ESA Council meeting that people in the space industry are watching very closely. Because Europe now has a decision to make: redirect its contributions to the lunar surface base, pursue its own independent lunar capability, or begin deeper cooperation with China's rival Moon program. That is not a small story. It is one of the most consequential diplomatic developments in space this decade, and it happened in the footnote of a press release. All of this, the drones, the rovers, the cargo landers, the South Pole infrastructure, is Phase 1. It's the construction crew arriving before the residents. The residents arrive in 2028, and getting them there depends entirely on one vehicle, SpaceX's Starship Human Landing System. Starship HLS is the only vehicle contracted to land humans on the Moon for Artemis 4. There is no alternative currently under contract, and before it can do that, it has to solve a problem that has never been demonstrated at scale: orbital refueling. The Starship Moonlander requires roughly 10 separate tanker launches worth of propellant loaded into a depot in low Earth orbit before it has enough fuel to reach the lunar surface and return. 10 tanker missions, coordinated docking, propellant transfer in microgravity. All of it has to work flawlessly before humans step aboard. Starship version 3, the rocket on which all of this depends, had not completed a test flight as of the week this video was filmed. It was predicted for April, then May. The timeline is already under pressure, and NASA's own watchdog has flagged the Starship delays as a formal risk to the Artemis schedule. The 2028 crewed landing requires a clean sequence, a successful V3 flight, an orbital refueling demonstration, an uncrewed moon landing, and then the crewed landing itself. 4 steps, each dependent on the one before it. Any slip in the chain pushes everything. Let's come back to the South Pole water ice, because I want to leave you with a thought that I don't think is being said loudly enough. NASA is spending $20 billion over 7 years on a moon base. Officially, it's about science, about international leadership, about beating China, about proving we can live somewhere other than Earth. All of that is true. But if you can produce rocket fuel on the Moon, and the entire location strategy of this base is designed around that possibility, then something more fundamental changes. The Moon stops being a destination. It becomes a petrol station, the first off-Earth fuel depot in human history, a refueling stop for Mars, for asteroid missions, for whatever comes in the decades after that. The economics of everything beyond the moon gets transformed by whether water ice exists at the South Pole in extractable quantities. $107 billion spent to get back to the moon. And what we might actually be building is the infrastructure that makes the rest of the solar system reachable. That's what NASA announced last week. And now you know what they're actually building.